Cleopatra. When you hear that name, a lot of images probably pop into your head. Seduction, snakes, tragedy, all of it. But the story we think we know, well, it's pretty much a drama scripted by her enemies, the Romans. So today, we're diving into the real story of the brilliant political strategist who became Egypt's last pharaoh.
And right there, that's the central paradox of her entire life. See, by blood, she wasn't Egyptian at all. She was Macedonian Greek, a descendant of one of Alexander the Great's top generals. But in her heart, she was Egypt's fiercest defender. Get this, she was the very first ruler in her 300-year-old dynasty to even bother learning the Egyptian language.
All right, so let's set the scene. Our story really kicks off in 48 BCE. And Cleopatra isn't some glamorous queen sitting on a throne. Nope, she's basically an 18-year-old exile, kicked out of her own capital, and stuck in a nasty civil war with her own brother.
So, her little brother, just a boy really, is technically on the throne back in Alexandria, but he's just a puppet for his powerful advisors, and they want Cleopatra gone for good. And just when you think things can't get any more desperate for her, who sails into the harbor? The most powerful man in the world, Julius Caesar. His arrival changed everything.
Her plan was just sheer audacity. I mean, she couldn't just walk through the front door, so she had herself smuggled in. Now, the legend says it was a carpet. Some historians think it was more like a bedroll. But honestly, the point is the same. She completely bypassed her enemies and presented herself directly to Caesar. This wasn't just about seduction. This was a high-stakes political performance to prove that she was the one he should back.
So to really get why she was so desperate, why she had to pull a stunt like that, we need to rewind a little bit and look at the fragile, violent, and brilliant dynasty she was born into.
You see, her family, the Ptolemies, had been running Egypt for nearly 300 years. They turned Alexandria into this global center of learning with its famous library. But over generations, the family started to rot from the inside. Brothers murdering sisters, sons overthrowing fathers. It got messy. So by the time Cleopatra got the throne, Egypt was living on borrowed time. It was basically what you'd call a client state, completely dependent on the goodwill of the new superpower on the block, Rome.
And this meant her family had to play this constant double game. So in the Greek city of Alexandria, they were these sophisticated Hellenistic monarchs, but out in the rest of Egypt, to the Egyptian people, they had to be living gods, divine pharaohs. They built these incredible Egyptian-style temples, performed the ancient rituals, the whole deal. But Cleopatra, she took it a step further. She was the first and only one in her entire family line to actually learn the Egyptian language. It let her speak directly to her people, which was a huge deal.
Their dynasty pretty much had a ruthless survival guide. Rule number 1, claim you're a god. Rule number 2, marry your brother or your sister to keep the power and that divine blood all in the family. Yep, and rule number 3, probably the most important one, keep Rome happy. Pay them off, bribe them, flatter them, whatever it takes to keep their armies out of your kingdom. This was the playbook Cleopatra was handed.
Cleopatra knew that rule number 3, keeping Rome on your side, was absolutely key. But she didn't just want to appease them. She wanted to partner with them. And her relationships with Caesar and later Mark Antony, they weren't just love affairs. They were stone-cold strategic alliances for survival.
And you know what? Her gamble worked. Caesar sided with her. This kicked off a brutal war right inside the city of Alexandria. In the end, Caesar's experienced legions won. Her brother actually drowned in the Nile trying to escape, and just like that, Cleopatra was back on the throne. The alliance had paid off big time.
But it was more than just a military alliance. They had a son together, Ptolemy Caesar, but everybody called him Caesaran, which means Little Caesar. And this kid, he was a living, breathing symbol of a potential future, a union between the incredible power of Rome and the immense wealth of Egypt.
Okay, so fast forward. Caesar gets assassinated, and Rome plunges back into civil war. When Mark Antony, who's now the top dog in the East, summons her, she doesn't just show up as some subordinate. Oh no. She stages another masterpiece of political theater. She sails up the river on this magnificent golden barge, dressed as Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love, surrounded by her attendants. She wasn't answering a summons. She was making an entrance. She was meeting him as an equal.
And their partnership, well, it blossomed into something way more ambitious than just keeping Egypt safe. Together, they started to dream of a new power in the East, a whole new Hellenistic empire that could rival Rome itself. This dream really took center stage at this shocking public event called the Donations of Alexandria. They held this massive, lavish ceremony where Antony and Cleopatra sat on golden thrones and basically started carving up the Eastern Mediterranean and handing it out to their kids.
To Rome, this was just beyond belief, an outrage. You have a Roman general, Antony, literally giving away Roman territories, some of which he didn't even control yet, to the children of a foreign queen. And the ultimate insult, the final twist of the knife, declaring Caesarion, not Octavian, Caesar's adopted heir in Rome, as the true son of Julius Caesar. And then they called him King of Kings. This wasn't just a ceremony anymore. This was a declaration of war.
The dream they had was magnificent, for sure. But the backlash from Rome was swift and it was total. Back in Rome, Octavian used the donations as the ultimate propaganda tool, painting Antony as a traitor who'd been bewitched by this foreign sorceress. A final, massive confrontation was now unavoidable.
And that confrontation came at sea, at the Battle of Actium, and it was a complete catastrophe for them. They were outmaneuvered, some of their forces even defected, their massive fleet was just crushed. They managed to break through the Roman lines and flee back to Egypt, but their army and their dream were left totally shattered in their wake.
About a year later, Octavian's forces were at the gates of Alexandria. The end came so fast. Antony heard a false rumor that Cleopatra was already dead, and he committed suicide. Then Cleopatra herself was captured, and she knew exactly what that meant for her. Being dragged in chains through the streets of Rome for Octavian's victory parade. For a queen who saw herself as a living goddess, that was a fate way, way worse than death.
Now, the legend we all know says she died from the bite of an asp, smuggled to her in a basket of figs. But a lot of historians are skeptical. It might have been a fast-acting poison hidden in a hairpin or a comb, but whatever the method was, the intent was crystal clear. This was her final act of defiance, her last piece of political theater. She was not going to be a Roman trophy. She was going to control her own death and, in doing that, begin writing her own immortal legend.
And what about her son Caesarion, the boy who was supposed to be the King of Kings? Well, Octavian, the cold, pragmatic new master of the world, knew he couldn't let a rival son of Caesar live. His justification was simple, chilling, and absolute. One Caesar is enough. With the boy's death, 300 years of Ptolemaic rule came to an end, and with it, the age of the pharaohs was over. Egypt became just another Roman province, and Cleopatra, well, she became a myth.